Donald Leroy Morrison Jr. was the most stereotypical computer predator to ever appear on To Catch a Predator, from the way he dressed to the fact that he said his mom was going to take away his computer after he got caught.
How do you think they're going to react?
Oh, I know my mom's going to take my computer and completely throw it away.
Now, despite all this, Donald Morrison's life actually started off promising. He graduated from high school in 1975 in Butler, Pennsylvania, and even spent 1 year in college. He soon began working a number of jobs, which include being a football announcer, as well as working for the federal government. However, Donald's life started going downhill a few years before meeting with Chris Hansen. In 2000, while working as a customer service technician for Dell, Morrison was arrested. Donald had been caught taking inappropriate pictures of a 17-year-old girl from Grand Rapids, Michigan. The girl's grandfather tipped off the police, and Donald Morrison was arrested at his home in Hutto, Texas. The authorities discovered even more disturbing images of kids and of Donald Morrison himself on his computer. Morrison's bond was set at $125,000, which he was unable to pay. After spending 267 days behind bars and facing a felony charge, Donald Morrison got off pretty easily. The charge was dropped to a Class A misdemeanor of unlawful use of a criminal instrument. Donald pleaded guilty and was ordered to pay a $197 fine and had to spend a year in jail. Thanks to the time he already served, Morrison only spent 98 days behind bars after being convicted. Additionally, Morrison did not need to register as an offender. Donald Morrison would be released in 2001, and he soon moved from Hutto, Texas to Fort Myers, Florida. Likely because of his arrest, Donald ended up living with his parents and got a job as a cookie baker. Despite his run-in with the law, it wasn't enough of a kick in the pants for Morrison. He continued chatting and meeting with young women online, although Donald said they were in their early 20s. However, in April 2006, Donald Morrison began chatting online with a girl who said she was 15. After talking for less than 2 hours, Morrison decided to drive to the child's home and meet her in person. Of course, it was really a sting operation run by To Catch a Predator. Once Chris Hansen confronted Morrison, Donald was an open book, talking freely about his previous arrest.
I have a compulsion for younger women, just meeting them. I've met about a dozen of them online.
And so this is something you do frequently?
No, I haven't done it I haven't done it since I moved here to Florida. I knew I shouldn't have done it.
Why'd you do it then?
Because when people sweet talk me, I fall.
Upon leaving the house, Donald Morrison was tackled by police and arrested. Donald was diabetic and went into shock after being placed in handcuffs. He was first taken to a hospital, and after receiving treatment, he was booked and placed in jail on a $50,000 bond. Donald Morrison pleaded not guilty and sought a public defender to represent him. At the same time, Morrison was still stuck in jail, unable to pay the bond. This led Donald and his attorney to file a motion for a reduced bond, but it was denied. After taking the L, Morrison changed his mind and pleaded guilty, although in court documents, Donald indicated he was doing it because it was in his own best interest. Donald Morrison spent a total of 67 days behind bars before pleading guilty and being sentenced. Unlike in Texas, Morrison's punishment was a bit harsher this time. He was ordered to spend 9 months in jail, 3 years probation, and lifetime registry as an offender. Some other charges included not being allowed to live within 1,000 feet of a school, daycare, or anywhere children would normally be, having unsupervised contact with children, and a curfew of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Donald Morrison also had fines that totaled $996.24. Since he had already spent 67 days in jail, this counted toward Morrison's 9-month sentencing. Because of that, Donald Leroy Morrison was released on December 4th, 2006, just in time for the holidays. It appears that Donald went back to living with his mom in Fort Myers, Florida. Things stayed quiet for the next several years, and it appeared that Chris Hansen's kick in the pants had worked. However, it turned out that Hansen should have kicked a bit harder. In September 2012, Donald Morrison found himself back behind bars. Morrison was spotted in a public library looking at pictures of children on Facebook. I guess Donald wasn't kidding when he said his mom threw his computer away. As previously mentioned though, part of Donald's plea agreement in 2006 meant he couldn't go to places where children would normally congregate. This included libraries. Police were alerted and Morrison was arrested. Donald claimed he was trying to send an incarcerated woman pictures of her 9-year-old son. Regardless if it was true or not, Morrison broke the law. The arrest does give a bit of insight into Donald's life 6 years after To Catch a Predator. According to Donald's application for a public defender, he was unemployed and not making any money, which would explain why he was still living with his mother. Despite this low income, Morrison was able to pay his way out of jail. Donald's bond was set at $1,500, which a company named Lexon National Insurance Corporation paid for. Despite this, Donald Morrison and his lawyer decided to fight this case. They tried to get it dismissed and even said not allowing Donald Morrison to be in a public library violated the First Amendment and was unconstitutional. Morrison's attorney attorney argued that the First Amendment included a fundamental right to receive information, and this included accessing public libraries. However, the court would ultimately disagree, saying that the library ban was related to achieving a legitimate public interest, namely protecting children from a registered offender. They also noted that the reason Donald Morrison was banned was because of something he did, and added that Donald's actions at the library were eerily similar to those that got him convicted in 2006. In any case, Donald Morrison ended up pleading no contest and had to spend 40 days in jail beginning on May 14th, 2013. He also had to pay a total of $525 in fines. Morrison ended up only having to spend 27 days in the slammer, being released on June 10th of that year. After getting another kick in the pants, Donald Morrison picked up where he left off and continued living with his mother. A few years later, YouTuber Joey's TCAP channel got in touch with Donald Morrison.
Hello?
Hey, this is Joe. Is Donnie around?
Yes, just a moment.
The conversation gave us some new insight into Donald's life 11 years after his To Catch a Predator appearance.
I know. Are you going away for Christmas break?
No, I'm still here. I can't go anywhere. I'm on dialysis.
Oh, man, that sucks. Are you stuck in a house?
No. I do it at night.
Yeah, we should catch up, man. Maybe, between Christmas and New Year's, grab a couple, cold ones and have a chat.
That I can't do, because I'm a caretaker for my mom.
Unfortunately for Donald Morrison, finding time to get out of the house was the least of his problems. In June 2017, Morrison got into trouble when he backed into another vehicle and shouted obscenities and left before the police arrived. He ultimately pleaded guilty and was given 6 months probation and paid a total of $870 in fines, but didn't have to spend any time in jail. In a bizarre turn of events, 15 years after his first television appearance, Donald Morrison appeared on the airwaves again.
Donald Morrison has lived in Mobile Manor since 2001.
I've been through Charlie, Wilma, and Irma.
But unlike those hurricanes, this storm caught him by surprise.
When it came through, it was like, it sounded like a tornado is what it really sounded like. I mean, it was just really fast, quick.
In addition to issues with Mother Nature, Morrison also started having financial difficulties. In 2022, Donald Morrison got sued for owing $2,456 in credit card debt. Despite knowing about the lawsuit, Morrison didn't appear for his court date. Due to COVID, the hearing was held online via Zoom. Unfortunately, no one at the courthouse had seen the To Catch a Predator episode, and they weren't aware that Donald's computer had been taken away. In all seriousness though, because Morrison no-showed his hearing, the judge awarded the case to Midland Credit Management, who were the ones who had filed the lawsuit. Despite this ruling, Donald Morrison ended up not paying a single penny due to what happened next. On October 12, 2022, Donald Morrison was scheduled to appear for another court hearing for the same case. Like before though, he didn't appear. Then, one day later, on October 13, 2022, Donald Leroy Morrison Jr. passed away at age 65. The cause of death was not revealed, but given that it happened right after no showing a court date, it's possible that Donald killed himself. Through Morrison's obituary, it was discovered that his mother had died sometime between 2017 and 2022. Because of that, and the fact he owed money, it seems like Donald wasn't in a very good place, adding fuel to the speculation that he took his own life. On the flip side, Walter Babst arguably had a better life after appearing on To Catch a Predator. Find out what happened to the math teacher by watching the video on screen.